I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey everyone, happy Thursday and welcome back to the News du Jour. Real quickly, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who is listening to the News du Jour these days. I am not at my usual energy level, to put it lightly. I'm not feeling my best these days physically, and I just wanted to say thank you for sticking around even though I haven't really been myself. I think a few of you have noticed that. And, it's just third trimester. It is tough. And I have that coupled with a chronic illness that is really hammering me right now. So at the end of the day, we're all going to be okay. We're going to get through this. But it's a little rough patch here at the end. So anywho, we will be discussing maternity leave plans really soon. So please be on the lookout on our social media. And the weekend is coming up very soon as well. So if you're not signed up for Dreamers Digest, our weekend email newsletter, definitely think about signing up, because basically what it is dreamy content recommendations for your weekend. So those aren't our content. It's interesting other podcasts to listen to, interesting music, things to see, ideas of activities to do over the weekend, things like that. A $5 find each week, because, we're not going to be spending the big bucks. But if I find something small that would improve y'all's lives, I put it in there as a $5 find, things like that. And you'll get a personal sort of life update from me each week if you're into that kind of thing. And if you're not, you can just scroll right past it because it's pretty brief. But yeah, you'll get all of that in our weekend newsletter. To sign up, you can just go to www.sugarfreemedia.co, and it's right there on the homepage. So today's entire episode will be designated to Ukraine coverage. So first up, let's dive in. The U.S. busts up cybersecurity attack. So I loved this story. I just thought this was super fascinating to dive into on my end, and pretty crazy. So the U.S. government was actually able to bust up a cybercrime operation and actually charge a Russian oligarch for the crime. All of this came about basically because the U.S. government is quite literally following the money right now to try and track down who to sanction and make sure it's all going according to plan. While these efforts are underway, they discovered a cyber plot and the oligarch who was responsible. According to the AP, the cybercrime was in the form of what's called a botnet, or basically this network of hijacked computers intended to do harm. The U.S. has also stepped up its sanctions in a number of different categories, from seizing yachts to sanctioning Putin's daughters and more. And next up in news about Ukraine, the UN Security Council meeting. Basically, yesterday I mentioned that Zelensky would be going to the UN Security Council with a presentation on Tuesday, and he did do that. I wanted to issue a content warning. There's graphic violence discussed in this story. So Zelensky is increasingly fed up with everyone's inaction when it comes to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. He took these grievances with him to the UN Security Council. He questioned whether a body that claims to support peace and stability can simply sit back and watch Russia's atrocities go down, and whether the UN is really serving any purpose at all. Ouch is all I can say to that. He spoke to the group via video, and he asked, quote, "Where is the security that the Security Council guarantees?" End quote. Yeah, pretty on the nose, sir. He then showed a video with images out of Bucha, which included things like charred human remains, those of children, civilian victims with their hands bound, shot at close range in the head. He described the atrocities that they have documented, such as women raped in front of their children and women's tongues being pulled out, people crushed in their cars by tanks driving over them. Russia, of course, rebutted Zelensky's speech with words from their UN ambassador, Vasily Nevezinsky, who provided evidence to support his claims that the atrocities, who provided no evidence, This man provided no evidence to support his claims that he made in front of the UN that the atrocities of Bucha were staged or that the Ukrainian government has been overtaken by Nazis. Yeah, this is one that's just like, just very difficult to say out loud because it's just so far from reality. It's, I'm just kind of taken aback that a man can go to the UN and stand up and say something like that we all know is so blatantly untrue. Anyway, more on that later. We'll circle back at the end. Next up, the Red Cross. The Red Cross has been attempting to get aid to Mariupol via an aid convoy of about 54 buses, but they have been stopped by a variety of Russian roadblocks. They were finally released after a series of negotiations with the Ukrainian government, but the Red Cross convoy has still not been able to make it inside of Mariupol proper, where people are in the most dire need. Let's hope that they can get there really soon. Next up, Russia is now using nitric acid. The international community has long been worried about Russia using chemical or biological weapons against Ukraine, and now it seems like they have taken this dangerous step. Nitric acid has now been used in the Lukashenko region. This substance will cause blindness, respiratory illness, and pneumonia, or respiratory illnesses like pneumonia, bronchitis, as well as dental erosion. It's a highly toxic and corrosive substance. Large orange clouds of the stuff can be seen in these photographs coming out of Ukraine, and they have no idea where these clouds might drift to or settle. They're recommending currently that everyone in the area protect their faces with masks soaked in soda solution and that they stay indoors as much as possible. But these are pretty insane requests given what's going on. Rain is the best case scenario for dispelling the toxin, so I'm praying for rain. As per the Geneva Convention of 1928, the use of chemical weapons is an act of warfare that is against international law. And next up, satellites are watching Russia's nuclear arms. So there are a number of things that the U.S. is watching for that would let us know if Russia is getting ready for a nuclear attack. So far, I just wanted to let you guys know, none of those red flags have gone up. The U.S. has literally hundreds of satellites and other spacecraft watching and waiting for these types of signs. Planet Labs, one group alone, has over 200 imaging satellites watching Russia's nukes. This type of surveillance has been going on actually since the 1960s when Russia sent some nuclear arms to Cuba. But that said, Russia's nuclear arsenal is actually larger than any other nations in the world. So there's a lot to keep an eye on, let's put it that way. And it seems like they like these kind of small scale nuclear attacks because it's less obvious what to do in a scenario like that. So, obviously if they did some big bad nuclear attack, we would respond in kind. However, with these smaller ones, it's really difficult to decide how to handle them. But as of now, we have no reason to think that they have plans to actually use their nuclear arms, but that could change in a heartbeat. So we will definitely keep you guys posted on this. And next up, we are discussing Borodyanka. So in Borodyanka, a suburb of Kyiv, an apartment building was hit by Russian airstrikes, killing at least 200 people and leaving a literal hole in a blackened building. Journalists were finally let into the town for the first time since Russian troops withdrew to the southeast, much like the town of Bucha. And they were finally able to come in and survey the damage, which was extensive. This town is still being evaluated, but there's obviously ample evidence that civilians were once again targeted by Russian troops. Coming back to where we started this episode, Borodyanka really begs the question, how long will the UN sit on their hands and let this go down before taking some action? Do they really stand for anything? Or do they just exist for the pomp and circumstance? And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with a quote. If you fuel your journey on the opinions of others, then you're going to run out of gas. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen, share on your social media, you have influence, tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.